What's up, guys? I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, we will be looking at exercise 30 of our Python exercise tutorial series. Without any further ado, let's get to it. First, I will code the remaining portion of the script of the text prompt, and thereafter we will speak. There's actually not much for me to write. Develop a Python program. Okay, there we have it. Exercise 30. Most years have 365 days. However, the time required for Earth to orbit the Sun is actually slightly more than that. As a result, an extra day, February 29, is included in some years to correct this difference. Such years are referred to as leap years. The rules for determining whether or not a year is a leap year is as follows. Any year that is divisible by 400 is a leap year. Of the remaining years, any year that is divisible by 100 is not a leap year. Of the remaining years, any year that is divisible by 4 is a leap year. All other years are not leap years. Develop a Python program that reads in a year from the user and displays a message indicating whether or not it is a leap year. Okay guys, so this program is pretty straightforward, pretty simple, very interesting. All the programs we have been looking at thus far are super insightful and give us that, well-deserved practice that we need. So, first things first, this program requests that we simply tell a user whether the year that has been entered by them is a leap year or not. Okay, so they did mention there's here develop a program. This is the important portion. The program needs to read in a year from a user. As we know, the year is going to be an integer and we need to perform the appropriate maths or logic using the conditioning that they gave us, and we need to have this program working correctly. So let's actually proceed to set up a prompt. We can do year. I'll call mine year, my variable prompt, to store that value representing the year, which is going to be entered by the user. So I'll do a please enter the year. Moving on, it's now time for the decision making. So they told us, right? What's important here is just basically the numbers and the type of operation we are going to do. So logic will tell us that using the appropriate maths, the most efficient thing to do would be to use the modulus or the modulo operator, because essentially what we're doing is we're checking to see if a number, which is a year basically, can be divided entirely by a certain value. And if that year can be divided by that specific number, for example 4 entirely, that specific year is a leap year because there's no remainder. I'll give you a good example. If we take the year 2000, right, 2000, if we take this year and divide it by 4, we know that we're going to get what? 500. And now that should tell us that 2000 is a leap year. And indeed, the year 2000 is a leap year. Okay. On the contrary, if we do maybe a year that's divisible by 100, we know that any year that's divisible by 100 entirely is not a leap year. For example, if we say 2004 divided by 100 is not, there's a remainder, right? There is a remainder, and the thing is that makes it not a leap year. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, if we take 2000 and divide it by 100, right, 2000 is divided by 100, and we say that if something is divisible by 100, then it's not a leap year, but 2000 is able to be divided by 100. So now this year, in this situation or in this scenario, it is a simple matter of our decision making. It has to do with the way in which we structure our decision making. um, Not to worry about that. I think we will limit the explanation for this program because it also depends on the way in which you interpret it. But let's move forward with our setup. So simple program. If year modulo or modulus, and they told us 400, what this means is if basically, oh, let's put z is equal to 0. Now what this means, guys, it means that if I take the year, which is entered by the user, and if I divide it by 400, and the remainder is 0, then let's do is a leap year is equals to true, right? So essentially this first if that we have set up, if year, so what this is telling us, I'm going to repeat myself here. If I take the year that was entered by the user, if I divide it by 400, and if the remainder is 0, that year is a leap year. And this is why we've basically created a variable calling it is leap year, and we're setting it equals to a Boolean value, true. Then, now it's time for the alif. And they told us, year divisible by 100, not a leap year. Let's proceed to do that. Year modulo 100 is equals to 0 is leap year equals false. Right? This I'm simply getting from the problem, from the question itself. And there's a reason as to now I can partially explain a little more about that scenario that arose when we used the year 2000. You see, there's a reason why they actually gave us our conditioning in this specific order, right, to help us along. Essentially, if I take the year 2000, right, 2000 is divisible exactly, it's entirely divisible by both 400 and by 100. But there's a reason why they gave us the conditions in this order. 400 came first, which is why the if statement has been set up first. Then 100 is checked, and then we set up the elif. So essentially, when the year 2000 is entered, it's going to trigger this if statement first. If year modulo 400 equals 0, it's going to trigger that, which prevents further decisions from even being executed. So it's basically ensuring that the program understands, the program is interpreting in the way in which we set it up to interpret. Because one thing that's super important as well, especially for, I would say for all Python developers, is the way in which we structure our if-elif statements. Or forget the if-elif statements, it's the order. Yes, it's the order of our conditions. It's super important. We need to check it in such a way that it accommodates versatility and flexibility, and it avoids errors in our program, because the type and nature of condition that you set and check, it really has an important impact on your program and the output, basically the overall flow. Because as you know, if elifs are in nature, they are all a part of what we call control flow statements in Python. They affect the control of the flow of our code. Okay, so moving on, guys. Alif here, this is a 4. Correct. So they said any year that's divisible by 4 is a leap year. So what this means is elif year modulo 4 is equals to 0 is leap year is equals to, let's set this to true, and the final or default value or statement will be the else clause. And they told us all other years are not leap years. So let's do an else is leap year is equals to false. That's good. Now it's time for the final check of the program. Let's do an if is leap year. So the reason, guys, one thing I should mention, when you're checking a Boolean value, there really is no need for us to enclose. Well, you can if you want to, but there's no particular need that arises to enclose a single Boolean value or a single Boolean value in parentheses, because basically what this in true sense, what this is checking is this. It's as follows, right? Remember, is leap year is a Boolean. So in full form, this if statement would be if is leap year equals true, right? And that's basically the entire condition in full form. But we know that, is leap year is a Boolean. It's a Boolean value in nature. That's what it's storing. So essentially, if we take out this redundant portion and just leave it as a standalone is leap year, what this will translate to is if true, right? Because this is leap year is basically storing the value true. So we are checking to see if is leap year, basically if true, then we'll do a print. So as you know, guys, the true is basically coming from here. And according to these conditions, if that is leap year variable is holding a Boolean true value, what we are trying to say or indicate is that let's print out a good message for our users. We'll say a year, so that will represent or take on the actual year, and we'll say is a leap year. That's good. Else, or otherwise, let's do again a year is not a leap year. That's good. So I do hope this program made sense. I hope my explanations are making sense, guys. Comment down below if they are. I would appreciate that. So I'm assuming that we have a full understanding of this program. I want to do another recording as well, so I will not waste too much time explaining this again. I'll just give you a quick rundown. This video is 13 minutes long so far. So essentially, this program is taking or reading in a year as input from the user. That year is being taken in as an integer value. Then that year value or variable is propagated further into the program into a series of if else statements, and what's being checked specifically is if that year is divisible by certain values, then that year will be regarded as a leap year, otherwise not a leap year. And basically the reasoning for the conditions, so the reason as to why we used these specific conditions within the brackets, within each bracket or pair of brackets, the reason why we use those is because they've made life easy for us in the text prompt. They gave us exactly what to check for and how to go about setting out our if else ladder. Next, guys, using a simple if else block of code, all we do is check if that is leap year variable is holding a true or false value. Basically, if is leap year, so if true, print year is a leap year. Else, print year is not a leap year. And that's that. Before we conclude, it's now time for us to test the program. Let's proceed and enter maybe 2022. This year is not a leap year, so let's see. And it tells us 2022 is not a leap year. Let's proceed to do 2024. It is going to be a leap year in 2024. And excellent, we see that. One more time, let's do 2000, the one we spoke about in the beginning. According to our decisions and our conditions, we are going to have the year 2000 being a leap year. Reason being, we first checking if that year is entirely divisible by 400. A different case or scenario and output would have been received if our first if statement was checking to see if a year is entirely divisible by 100. In that case, the program would tell us that this year 2000 is not a leap year, and that's false because 2000 is a leap year. And this is why it is very good practice, to keep your if elif else conditions very ordered, right? Pay attention to the way in which you structure the decisions and the checks that are being done in your program. So let's run this, and it tells us 2000 is a leap year. And excellent, guys, we've successfully completed exercise 30 of our Python exercise tutorial series. I thank you for watching till the end. Do make sure to leave a like for this video, subscribe to my channel. It greatly motivates me and it motivates the YouTube algorithm to actually push out my videos and recommend it to other people as well. With that, good luck with your work, and I'll see you in the next video.